In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, and the most advanced. So, this is the first lecture of the year 2026. We all made it. I've written the title, the beauty of divinity. At first, I wrote the beauty of divinity surpasses worldly success, but then I thought, let me just say, the beauty of divinity feels superior to worldly success. I believe it surpasses it. But there can be arguments made that if you're seeing divinity in the world, that is a type of worldly success. That's why I'm saying feels superior to worldly success. And then I've written fascination for unknown worldly workings, for the unknown workings of the world, pretty much. Okay. So, dear viewers, I believe that every soul has a gift to give. I believe you have entered this system to update it before you leave. I believe that we're all acting subconsciously in accordance to a value that surpasses our humanized understanding. I believe that 2026 to me feels different. Um, I mean, 22, like ever since 2022, everything's been surreal, you know? So getting to see 2026, it's honestly surreal. But like I have memories of 2016 and 2026. I made a conclusion. Last night was a very interesting night for me. I in some sense fathomed my whole life. I wondered about it and I asked myself, all right, man, let's imagine we've reached the midway point of life. You got like halfway to go. Now, what is the smartest, or, this is how I think really, what would the most advanced and greatest and smartest version of me approach 2026? And for a second, I realized that out of niceness for my past senses of self, I have refused to see who else I could be. And one of my sincere prayers for all of us and for myself specifically in this lifetime, God, show me who I truly am and what I truly deserve. And make me understand why. You see, the most advanced version of me would have faith in the most advanced system administration of this simulation. But, a slightly, let's say, the more formed version of me, like pretty much it, every day is opening our eyes to a world of stuff. And then what do we do with this stuff, And to me, it's so remarkable because people think creativity is personal. It's freaking hilarious. We're all existing in the background of each other, Like, I don't know, in how many tourist photos I'm like a tourist walking in the background when I was young. You know what I mean? Like, you never know what you really meant to others. I remember reading this quote. It was such a beautiful quote. I don't remember it exactly, but it was something like, yo, you're going to live your life not knowing how many people actually liked you, how many people actually disliked you, how many people you actually irritated, or how many people you actually fascinated and you didn't know. It is about the nature of human vision, folks. You know, I've never felt, you know, my emotions. This might sound strange. I think this could be like, I'm not saying this is like I'm an exemplar of like the most perfect psychological state, you know. Like I'm laughing because it's so not true. I am. There are moments in this world that I just don't know how to look at it, but I'm looking at it. And in 2026, I pretty much realized this a couple of days ago. What kind of life do I want to live? Do I want to satisfy the story they're telling me? Do I want to satisfy? Pretty much life is like what your life force wants to satisfy what character in a story at first. And guys, I let me tell you something about me that maybe you know, maybe you don't know. So I draw art, right? And I bought these two giant whiteboards, but unfortunately due to temperature they've bent, you know? And I was writing in one of them and I was trying to film it to kind of set up like a new kind of, initiative, trying to get my, I guess, who I physically am, is it being more in front of the camera, you know? They're like, yo, man, for how long are you going to be Batman? I'm like, yo, man, I got videos where I'm showing my face, like, I'm like the Batman of the podcasting realms, to some people who, don't really know who Batman is. Oh, man. Dear viewers, let me tell you, I have reached such an advanced state of being, and I call this advanced state. There was like ultra, there was this show, Dragon Ball Z, called, there was a character in it who pretty much shouted so loud that even the gods were like, what the fuck? This is like in the anime Dragon Ball Z power. Okay. And this guy reaches this ultimate state called Ultra Instinct. I don't know, autonomous in its true form or something. Like this cat was tripping, in the show. I'm sorry, guys. I'm laughing at something about the show that I know that, anyways. So, so in the show, the person accesses this next level of power and function as a being called Ultra Instinct, which means he moves before he moves. Right? He knows how to move before he needs to think to move. Before he needs to do the action is instantaneously done. Do you know? And for me personally in my life, There's something I call ultra silliness. When I get close to truth, I know anytime, when the reality makes me laugh, I know that the divine is very close. There's a divine presence that's close. Do you know? Because you see, all that you know is how far humans know. The whole point. If I was a flame that moths had gathered around, the point of that light is to be like, hey, 8.1 billion human beings, which are like being considered 7% of all human beings that have ever existed, considering a 300,000 range and 117 billion humans to be estimated to have existed. Okay, so we're one of those human beings. I'm one of those human beings. Show me respect. Do you know? It's like an evolutionary biologist looking at the movie Godfather, and they're giving him respect because they realize he's an evolutionary organism, 4.5 billion years, in the making, with a very advanced prefrontal cortex. And I'm like, no, guys, they respect him because he's holding a gun. Just, uh, anyways, guys, where I'm going with this, I always, I think more and more as I'm giving these talks, it's just changing from like, yo, guys, I'm going to give a very civil lecture to like somebody in a battlefield of like, conception and ideological warfare of, what occupies what ideas and shapes occupy human attention. And they're going to be like briefs. They're going to be like the lectures in the future are going to be like reporting back to the human species. Do you know, it's freaking weird down here. Like, oh man. Do you know why I'm laughing? Because we're doomed. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. I'm out of control in this lecture. Okay. All right. No, guys, I'm laughing because deep down, a part of me has cried a lot, cried too long. And let me tell you what happens. I don't know. I don't know if this is just something that can be attributed to the masculine force, the masculine archetype, but I think it's attributed to the psychological, to the psyche. Okay, because it's not limited to it. You can see it in all animals. Like, do you know what I mean? Animalistic behavior, you see it in there. And what it is that what you're given from the start is important to you, but you don't know what you're given. There is this defensiveness over being something we don't know. If you try to logically figure out life, like, it's going to be a bit strange, but coming from somebody who has a designer's soul, like hear me out. This world from a designer's perspective is actually a very complex geometrical event. The amount of things spinning around invisible centers is so freaking pointless to me. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, Earth, you spinning around yourself? Freaking travel, yo. It's like some dude's like, yo, man, we created a gazillion infinite abstract dollars to fund this program to somehow find a way to steer, Earth. Do you know? And they're like, we need the sun, though. We're like, okay, we got to find a way to navigate the sun, do you know? And who knows, guys? Today I'm a podcaster. In the future, I might be a pilot of the sun, yo. What's like Mr. Within's New Year's resolution for 2026? It's like nothing much, man. Just, you see the sun? I'm gonna try to pilot that. like not even about landing on the sun, dude. The dude wants to pilot the sun from the center of the sun. Can you imagine you go inside the center of the sun, right? Do you know? And the center of the sun, do you know? Like it inside it is like a refrigerator. Can you imagine somehow scientists figured that out and they're like, what the F are we going to tell people? So, guys, inside the sun, it's as cold as Canada. Oh, man, what is this? Ooh. Oh, man. You know, if it gets colder in places that it isn't cold, everybody's going to respect Canada. All right, all right. Jokes aside, I'm trying to advance civilization over here. Oh, man. God bless. So, listening to the most emotional music, what can I say? As a modern podcaster in 2026, you know, like you guys don't get it, like, of course, I'm not famous now, but you're in the presence of that dude in human history who called himself Mr. Within. I mean, that's something, you know. All right, all right. All right. Let me think of a tragedy in life and get serious. Okay, guys, it's all about strategy and thinking, treating life as a designer. Anybody who has this ability can become like legit, like you're already my best friend and you don't know it. If you can be like, if you can understand this. You see, humans, when they open their eyes, and if there's any motive to move, there is an evaluation that has been made. That means if you see a squirrel moving, if you see a car moving, if you see anything that has been moving, it's very interesting if you begin thinking in terms of values and commands and thinking as if, okay, that car is moving because there's a command, a signal being generated in the brain of a human to go and maintain that vehicle. So you see that there's a command. You see a squirrel freaking running between branches. There's a command to, I don't know, like go somewhere else or something for it, right? You know, to me, I thought it was like, yo, is that an effed up human and is that a good human? And I was like, no, man, they've convinced me too soon that we know what the world is, but we don't actually know. We've masked reality and are treating the mask as the face of the world. It's so strange. Oh, my fellow species, awaken from the unnecessary illusions. You see, there's necessary simulations and there's unnecessary simulations. A necessary simulation is existence. Okay. An unnecessary simulation is thinking that you're a thought. If somebody comes and says, hey, man, you're the most powerful person in the world, right? Like if you believe that you are like, how do you know what I mean? Like it's that language cannot define you, yet because you don't have a greater relationship with your own presence beyond language. Language is the only thing that you're working with, and I understand, of course, it's the coolest technology, and it's the technology that helps us access other technologies. Just the ability to comprehend something as a language. If you pay attention, religions were noticed when there was language, when there was a way to communicate. Do you know? And dear viewers, I know that, philosophers have always been like, I remember it's so funny, man. I like to me, it's always like the scientist and the theist are, excuse me, the atheist and the theist are like they're like fighting, like they're like arm wrestling, and in the middle of this, the philosophers like and the whole world's watching their debate, right? Of this theist and atheist arm wrestling, conceptually, and then suddenly there's this philosopher in the middle, and the philosopher's like, guys, why do we have to even think in this way? And everybody's like, get the fuck out of here. Because let me tell you, The rarity of philosophy is that it is allowing you to understand that this thing you're treating as, oh, human knowledge, yo, do you know, is how human beings have opened their eyes to this world so far. What you believe is like the peak of knowledge is just how humans have like how far we can see. We have noticed. Seldom is this said, but in order to be great in any world, you must walk with the presence among greatness. And there are beings who, in the outer realms, they don't have anybody to walk among with greatness. But in the inner realms, like, let me tell you something very unique. Before I became truly Muslim in 2023, I was very new age. I was very yogic. You know, I believed in my past life. I was Rishi Vyasa, you know, I believe that, you know, like even before that, like I was just this sector of space, like I don't know how to say it, like I was just presence of intelligence as a field. That means there's some beings that are evolved to just constantly come in manifest forms. There's some beings who they've been in so many forms. This is from a Vedic lens, okay? You know, this is not an Islamic viewpoint, you know, and this is not a viewpoint I believe in anymore because I've the depth of the picture has changed the whole picture for me, you know. But before 2023, I was working with three moderators, and in some sense, I was conscious of the intelligent activity, which means movement that I did not move. So most people, if you ask them, like they believe they're their mind, and they believe they know everything in their mind, right? And they believe they're moving everything in their mind. That means if you suddenly, let's say you're walking in the park, and and you just look at the sky, and you just for a second get a glimpse of a vision of like a line of cars, even though you're in 2020, let's say 5 or 4 or something, and seeing this, right? So your mind received a signal. Do you understand? It is so much more interesting to stop judging everything, everyone, every human, and be like, okay, they're an antenna. What are they receiving? What sort of signal are they receiving? Okay, if you treat things like that, and if you treat the signal as a command, you might not believe it, but every person I see, yes, I do give agency to them. That the reason, like, let's say if I see a car moving outside, yes, I'm giving agency to the person, and I'm like, the person in the car is moving the car. So the car doesn't have an agency, like the car is not a being itself, right? Do you know there's a being inside the car? There's a spirit inside the car, the driver of the car moving the car. Okay. Now the question is, if the vehicle was the totality of existence, you see, the discovery of the difference between soul and God, spiritual people, do you know, they the soul, how do I explain it to you? Spirituality is the ego's last refuge. Divinity is the original command. Don't forget this. I will make an argument for the beauty of divinity, why it feels superior to worldly success. And when I say fascination, for unknown worldly workings. Guys, this is the first lecture of 2026, you know, and it means, like, you know, pretty much any day it could have been, but it's an interesting time to wonder about who else you can be. It is a very interesting time to realize we're conscious beyond the human object and subject. Anyways, to continue, I don't know how to say it, guys. I'm just a human being. I've lived a certain amount of time here. I've been simulated in existence. My outer life is different than my inner life. My outer life is constantly existing. My inner life logs in and out. I've logged in and out so many times that at some point I do understand how the brain works. My feelings are like they can even be ascribed signal a sort of meaning. I pretty much wake up every day and I wonder what it is that I notice. Do you know? And it's what arrives. And I'll give you an example. Like this was in Birmingham in 2015. One morning, they have these weird bank holidays, which are like just gut wrenching, holidays, financially. So, there's these bank holidays, and pretty much the bank holiday was over, and I waited for early in the morning, and I'm walking, and I remember I'm walking from the accommodation area to the university ATM, right? This is in 2015. I was studying mechanical engineering unsuccessfully for now. And I was the only one in the street. There were no cars, and I'm walking, but there was light. It wasn't like that dark, you know. And I remember I see this giant wooden sign on this construction site beside the street had broken and fallen in the street, and it was an empty street, and I was just walking and going to the ATM, and I just had this feeling I had to go at that time. And I remember it was hilarious, and with my freezing fingers I just grabbed this giant wooden thing and just pulled it into the sidewalk. Do you know? And I was like, all right, man, the people in the sidewalk can suffer, you know less than the people in the street. Like a car destroying the sign is not worth it, right? Compared to the sign getting dirty, I guess. I don't know. So I pulled that thing and I went to the ATM. Do you know? And it was like this hidden heroic moment in the presence of just me and just the streets of Birmingham, and there was nobody there. You know, but it was like a signal for me. Like I just followed the signals of the day, but because we're conscious, it means we can process the signal before just reacting to it. You know, to me, the sign of immaturity and maturity is in some sense reacting. Reaction is immature. Reaction is childlike. And it's easier to do. You know, that means it's easier to you know just give up on the analytical reasoning of the moment and just emotionally function. I do remember, like, they're hearing conspiracies that they're trying to make everybody emotional, so then the moment they forget logic, they don't make logical decisions, then it becomes a sort of illogical marketplace, like an emotionally decided illogical marketplace. you know because the future generations, their sense of reality is based on more abstract and digital means. Like, I'm the first human in my lineage, to have a cyber presence. You know, it's like little did my ancestors know their descendants would be given a 10,000 talks, yo. You know, like, and the point of it is what? What am I talking for? It's because in my inner realms, I see an advanced civilization. I see an advanced humanity. My biggest regret is that I didn't realize sooner that every person I have been communicating to, seeing, I should not be seeing them based on their appearance, but based on their potential. Because we're in a world conditioned to judge things based on past to present. That means the mistake reprograms you. This is what it means to live in civilization. Sometimes when I look at, for example, like robbery, theft, corruption, and all of this in society, and I'm like, man, this is the struggle of a sort of deranking or rank mispositioning. Do you understand? That means like those who have less financial means must be closer to natural means, because the financial system, like this is the true philosophy I think behind the capitalistic system. Yes, it is very liberating in the potential in providing the acceleration of growth. Capitalism is very important, it has a key role, but at the center of it, unfortunately, it doesn't care if the profit is natural or unnatural, because of the fear of survival. Because 8 billion people are scared, they are greedy. And what else can they do? It's the most logical thing. But the logic changes when it's not worth it. That means imagine every person you hit. Imagine, like, this is very bizarre, but imagine every physical fight you went in, a part of you physically would be lost. Then nobody would fight. Do you understand? Like, it's all conditional, guys. I'm trying to make this case that we are conditional users inside a simulated system. The system admin is unconditional. There is an unconditional power administering, setting up, adjusting the settings of the conditional reality. And guys, in 2026, I'm just going to say it, like any person who listens to this talk, you got to add something to the talk in the chat section. You got to add like something you understood or something you saw more deeper or whatever, you know. But if you listen to this talk and don't add anything in the chat section, then you're still living in 25, yo. Anyways, where I'm going with this is the human position. For me, I have recently found a huge appreciation for games. Like even digital games recently. And to me, it's a matter of, and the reason I have found this fondness for them is because I have started treating myself as a simulated being. To me, I started noticing parallels. Okay, and of course, video games are based on reality, but I'm saying also reality seems to have a different view. There's a different view to this world, okay? That if you treat it as a game, like I'm a character in this unknown map called this physical world, and we're in a three-dimensional game made from the periodic table, and a video game is just a two-dimensional video game made of pixels. Do you understand? So if you treat it as a game, you're like, okay, now I can see it kind of having meaning. The purpose of playing a game is not to understand how the designers created the game, it's to play the game and finish it. And there's something in me that I don't know. It's like I've been searching for the greatest game as a soul I can play in a world, right? And I realized it took me a while. I realized the second greatest game before the first greatest game, right? And the second greatest game you can play in this world is to build an advanced civilization and experience an advanced humanity. That's the greatest game. All discussions on earth will lead to the advanced civilization. It is the most beautiful and greatest unifying idea, okay, that in some sense awaits us in our future. That means they're like, what did Mr. Within do? He's using the idea of an advanced, the most advanced outcome in the future, and making that the purpose of his movement. But his movement is not his movement because he's a human being, it's the movement of the human species. You see, this is a name. I give myself a name online. This Mr. Within it. Just one day, I was like, "Yo," I just had a deep insight on within myself. I'm like, "Oh my god, my consciousness is within my eyes, yo!" Like it's starting from there. Oh my god, is am I experiencing existence, or is existence like experience, like is experience existing, or is existence experienced? It's like this bizarre double-edged way of looking at the world. And I'm like, how like the Holy Quran is divine revelation is because it acknowledges the duality of reality. It's a book for those who have realized they're being singular in a dualistic context. It's a dualistic box. What does that mean? Anytime you felt good, okay, the opposite of that was possible. Anytime you felt bad, the opposite of that was possible. Anytime you identified with the past, the opposite of identifying with the future was possible. Anytime you identified with the future, identifying with the past was possible. So you're beginning to realize you're not just this being that can be branded with a belief. You are this omnidirectional mover within this space of your own presence of awareness where reality meets you. You don't understand. Some people, they're like, yo, man, I like alien contact, extraterrestrial contact. You're a sci-fi writer. You can understand. And I'm like, yo, man, I don't like devalue that idea to that level. You know, to me, imagine I was walking in the park, right, in the future, like in a sky city, in the first sky city I designed for human history, you know, and I'm just walking in the park, and this extraterrestrial, like overlord general, just lands like on the park with like its entourage, and they're like, "You human, we have chosen you, and we're gonna invade your species, and your planet is gonna be our planet, and we're gonna invade and pretty much change everything." And I'll look at that alien and I'd say, "How do you know this is our planet?" And then the extraterrestrial would, for example, say like, "So what? Somebody owns you? Some other extraterrestrial species owns this place?" And I would look at the extraterrestrial and be like, "No, no, no! Something beyond, something greater than an extraterrestrial owns this place. It even owns you." And this is where the extraterrestrial would be like, "What do you mean?" And I'll be like, "There's a being that owns everything in manifestation. It is the system admin. You can try to invade Earth, but the system admin will not let you. You're interfering with that which you are not destined for." And the extraterrestrial overlord, like one of his, probably his entourage, would like bicker and suddenly, you know, whisper something in his ear, and the overlord's like, "All right, you guys are good." you know, we have no beef, and they leave. And I don't know, in that moment, like the most advanced robotic cow gives like the most advanced moo. I don't know, like sad ultra silly instinct. You see, it's the authority of the original moment. So my experience of reality is simply that there's an original it's cause. So if we're looking at things as cause and effect, okay, so the causal position of reality is unconditional. So we can't, it's unknowable because the unconditional was present before the conditional was. You understand? So in my view, as just a being here, the most important things is to acknowledge God, the system admin. So you've entered a world, you don't own this world, you haven't created this world, you've logged into this world, okay, and you have certain system administrative movement privileges. Now you got to require to you're required to kind of look at your moment and discover all the clues, and the greatest clues are anything that leads you to the unknown. And the unknown is the epitome of scholarlyhood. That means if you ask the most advanced, or let me say the most informed people on the planet, they will tell you that at some point the context to meaning can be so vast that from any sector of shape you can start and come to that realization. Okay, because you right now are not just seeing a civilization that has different layers of governance, you are witnessing a civilization that its governance is based on values. These values are based on perceptions, they're perceived concepts. That means people may laugh at the philosopher, but not realize the philosopher is outside of the limitation of a singular context. That means people become philosophers who they can shift into different contexts. And if people who have ADHD, for example, their attention is to like everywhere, like their head is like a sparrow, their attention is like the head of a sparrow on a branch, like every second, dang, 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 like looking all directions, you know, snapping into all directions like instantly, you know, right? So, in the same way, people who are like that, you just need to find the context to the concepts your attention goes to. Like, yeah, I do understand that we are living in an era where there is no like perfect standard. It's more like what was the best decision you made. This is what my father in real life will always tell me, like make the best decision out of like your best options. Just do the best you can, and then you won't have regrets. But if you don't do the best you can, you'll live with regret. you know right? And you shouldn't live with regret, because I'm telling you, my whole thing is, I'm telling you, we have, as a human, we have been basing our value based on the past to the present, and we need to base it based on the present to the future. There is pretty much where these beings that pick up signals internally and externally and internally, and these signals are translated into commands, And ultimately, like, yeah, we're just a part of reality that happened this way. Like, imagine you're someone and they're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's like, I want to be, I want to open up a restaurant in an interstellar space city, you know? And then they're like, all right, kid, we don't even have, like, we don't have even, like, sky cities yet, keep dreaming. The whole point of it is, if what you want from this life is not real, is not it from this moment, then you're living in accordance to your inner realms. The difference is that which one is more real? Pretty much you're opening your eyes and you just play this game of like, wait, what is real, what isn't real? And you're like, okay, real means it is present always. That's the reality. That's the ontology, the actuality of it. Okay, then there's the epistemology, how we get to know it. And then that's like, so what is the actual reality? So reality by definition is like the context that doesn't change anymore. It's the final, like the only context. Okay, it's the final context to everything that's going on. Now I and all those beings who believe that truth is unconditional and they believe in an original being, the unconditional is the other side, and it is beyond the human because the human is defined by its condition. Now, what does it mean, divine beauty, like the beauty of the divines, surpasses or feels superior to, what was it? Worldly success. There we go. That's the word. Why the beauty of divinity? Because, guys, there's a view that beauty, aside from language, is another way to detect truth. Okay. Now, when I say divine beauty, so there's a beauty, for me personally, it's like the most beautiful woman I can imagine, both in the inner realms and outer realms. Just a second, guys. What can I say? I guess I'll go into a research component. So, guys, this is the research component. I'm using ChatGPT 5.2. I pretty much gave it the title of my talk, The Beauty of Divinity Feels Superior to Worldly Success. And I'm like, and also fascination with the unknown workings of the world. And I pretty much told it to Okay, so I asked AI to give me the most academic perspective on it and then the most advanced perspective on it. Okay, it created two passages. It says, from an academic perspective, the perception that the beauty of divinity feels superior to worldly success can be explained through a distinction between instrumental value and ultimate meaning. Worldly success is evaluated through socially constructed metrics such as wealth, professional achievement, and social status. These metrics function pragmatically, allowing societies to coordinate behavior and reward competence. However, they are contingent upon historical, cultural, and institutional context, and therefore lack universality. Divinity, by contrast, is understood in philosophical and theological discourse as the source or ground of meaning itself. Rather than representing a competing form of success, divinity addresses foundational questions concerning existence, purpose, and intelligibility. The experience of beauty associated with the divine reflects a cognitive recognition of coherence at a deeper structural level than that offered by instrumental achievement. Consequently, worldly success fulfills practical and organizational functions, but it does not resolve existential questions regarding why such success matters. The perceived superiority of divinity is therefore not a moral judgment against achievement, but a rational acknowledgement of its conceptual limits. Meaning precedes success. Success presupposes meaning. Yeah, yeah. This hierarchy and the meaning, that meaning is unknown also. This hierarchy explains why divinity continues to exert philosophical and existential appeal even in highly developed, achievement oriented societies. So, divinity is the source of the meaning, but it is not the shape of it's the shape of the meaning presupposes that it is not divine. Okay, anyways, we go to the advanced part. It says, at the most advanced level of analysis, the sense that the beauty of divinity surpasses worldly success reflects an ontological symmetry between conditioned systems of valuation and the conditions of valuations themselves. Worldly success exists entirely within closed evaluative frameworks, economic, political, and cultural systems that quantify human worth through performance and outcome. These systems are operationally necessary, yet ontologically derivative. They presuppose the existence of meaning, value, and order without generating them. Divinity, in contrast, occupies the level of ultimate intelligibility. It names the horizon within which reality becomes meaningful at all. The beauty attributed to the divine is not aesthetic sentimentally, but the experiential recognition of maximal coherence across existence. Yeah, guys, it's pretty much. It says it says, but the beauty attributed to the divine is not aesthetic sentimentally. It's not, excuse me, it's not aesthetic sentimentality, but the experiential recognition of maximal coherence across existence, consciousness, and value. So a divine experience can be suggested to be like the beauty of a divine experience is a beauty that, like, a beauty of a normal experience is like seeing a very beautiful woman. Like your mind has never even fathomed like a woman like that exists. you know and you see that her for the first time, and then there is like the mind seeing the beauty of how we are inside a system and all the elements and functions and forces that keep the position of existence. So there's a beauty in seeing how things happen, how things occur, how the whole thing is moving together, but at the same time to parts of itself separately as well. That means my blood cells could have consciousness, but that consciousness cannot be aware, perhaps, that I have a consciousness to be outside, the outside of my body. Do you understand? So it is about how intelligence has arose in a sector of reality. Now we attribute the intelligence to the brains, but I feel, in the same way they said evolution adapts, I feel matter is adapting to an invisible force field, where in that invisible force field there are divine, we're inside a commanded universe. It's commanded. The source code of existence is already there. That means I don't know right now in 2025 excuse me, in the year 2026, what the year 3026 is going to be like. Okay? I don't know what it's like, but if I have this view that the world is unconditioned, was created by an unconditional creator, and this unconditional creator is all knowing, therefore like we only have an access, let's say, to the past, to the present, and then we imagine the future, or fathom it, or probabilize it, right? But the system admin has access to all of time at once. And if the system admin is all knowing, that means the system admin already knows the future. If the system admin already knows the future has already happened. So it means the command that manifestation is following, or manifestation is commanded by the awareness to a field that moment has already happened. Here's, I'm gonna keep reading. It says, where success resolves problems within reality, divinity addresses the metaphysical question of why reality is susceptible to resolution in the first place. The human fascination with the unknown workings of reality emerges precisely at this boundary. Divinity represents the limit point where explanation ceases to function instrumentally and begins to function orientationally. Meaning intensifies where control fails. Thus, divinity feels superior not because it negates success, but because it reveals success to be secondary, an activity made possible by deeper pre-instrumental structures of order. The divine is not an alternative. Excuse me. The divine is not an alternative goal within life, but the ground that renders all goals intelligible. So here's the summary. Worldly success operates within human constructed systems of value, measuring performance, status, and achievement according to social criteria that are historically and culturally contingent. While necessary for organizing societies, such success remains instrumentally limited. It presupposes meaning without generating it. Divinity, by contrast, refers to the foundational horizon that makes meaning, value, and intelligibility possible at all. The beauty associated with the divine is therefore not sentimental but cognitive, a recognition of coherence at a deeper ontological level than achievement can reach. Human fascination with the unknown workings of reality emerges at the point where instrumental success fails to provide orientation, revealing that success functions within reality, whereas divinity addresses the conditions that render reality meaningful. For this reason, divinity feels superior not as a moral alternative to success, but as its conceptual ground. To notice the intelligence of the context is, to me, more superior than just the intelligence of the concept finding a comfortable loop. You see, it is The approaches are different. I used to treat this life as everything is real and true, and yes, from one perspective, the simulation is in the original moment happening. So truth um, was in the room before the simulation was, or simulation is happening in the truth room now, or yeah. And there's that view, but to me, I see it as conditional and unconditional. Pretty much original means unconditional to me. Simulated means conditional, because I have a conditional body, because everything I look at is conditional. So I am in some sense a conditional being, making trying to trying to find a conditional strategy. However, I'm also a conditional being that has noticed the unconditional and the beauty of the unconditional. And people feel divinity is beyond any idea, folks. Even the general Sun Tzu in The Art of War, few people read it that way, but I know that that's how he wanted it to be read. Sun Tzu in The Art of War, he says the general that aligns to the heavens. Now, people thought it just means higher ground. No, it means that there is a destiny in the moment. You can feel the moment before it happens, or it happens. The issue is that it's not that human beings are not advanced, smart, or intelligent on this planet, or they're like limited by like deception or by themselves or whatever, by trauma or whatever. That's not the case. The thing is that you are all antenna, and where thoughts arise is from the aspect of reality, the sector, the way reality that the the way reality is, that is field like in nature. Intelligence, like a film, is different than a photograph, but you have a bunch of photographs and you look at them very quickly, it becomes a film. So to me there's a beauty to how there's a system admin. This world has a host. I believe that the future has already happened for the system admin. The system admin knows all. The future is left to happen, and it's a matter of decisions. And I think that we need to find the most advanced power, and then build the most advanced civilization. And as the most advanced humanity, shift beyond the limited context of just a planetary life. And right now, I am that human being in history ushering the species to evolve, from to update, like evolve like a Pokemon, and advance from being humans that just identify with nationalism and just their personalism, do you know, or their location, and for you to identify with how you are a member of the human species. Like we don't, we don't, it does, we don't need to like give everybody the same uniform. You're already wearing the uniform of the human species. You're a member of the human species. The consciousness of civilization will lead to this conclusion, because we're now, whatever we experience, we can be convinced the opposite will happen. All the ignorant people you see in the future, there will be people who will come who will have clarity, and then a new type of ignorance will arise, and a new type of clarity will arise. What was it? Was it Hegel, like thesis, antithesis, a It is the nature of the vision of man and how far we advance as a species. In the far future, there's going to be someone who, like I'm here being like, guys, identify as a member of the human species, to be human, to value like the actual experiences human beings are having is way more important than branding them into an experiential category. Do you understand? That means as civilization advances, it's going to realize its greatest values. This is why, this is also something seldom it is said. You know who the greatest strategists are? Like if you bring a room of like 100 people, if you bring a room of 10 people, okay, do you know? And we tell these people like these 10 people are going to be in a room for 24 hours, but every hour we're going to bring one glass of water, do you know? Or whatever, do you know? Or imagine you just put a glass of water in a room and 10 people are thirsty and you see all of them run except like three of them. And these three are watching, right? And they look at each other and they're just watching and all of them run, right? Do you know? And while they're doing that, they see the other, in some sense, seven, in some sense, fighting over the water and like their true natures being revealed. And guess what? Those who were patient got to see more external manifestation before making an internal conclusion on it. They're the strategists, the observers. That means, like, even in, I think in twins, it's there, the quiet twin, the quiet kids, the shy, the silent ones. These are the strategists of the future generations. Why? Because they are observing, they are appreciating, receiving reality more than just expressing in reality. Therefore, they understand more. They see more out of reality. You know, you enjoy what you discover with your attention. If you're shy to communicate when you're young, right? You become actually very alert. Like I wouldn't be surprised if shy and introverted people had like way greater precision than extroverted people, you know, because that patience is required, you know. And some people are like, yo man, that person's a narcissist. I'm like, nah, that person is just someone who cannot tolerate any other person's reality. We have to somehow build an advanced civilization together, and because we can't agree on the past and the present, the only thing left is we got to unite over the future. That's the genius of like this whole Mr. Withinian view. Anyways, thank you for listening. I hope this lecture was interesting. I'm gonna be starting a gaming channel, believe it or not, right? And activating my art channel. So stay tuned. I'm gonna figure this stuff out. I The whole point of this lecture was for me to say that in 2025, I was still worldly success was still very important, and currently, I'm not saying it's not important, but now the priority is the quality of life. It's as if whether you want to live a high resolution life and feel successful to others, or if you want to live like a lot, if you want, yeah, low resolution and external success, or high resolution and externality, is not up to you. That means I don't know. Maybe the system admin wants, wants me to be a billionaire. Maybe the system admin wants me to, in some sense, I don't know, not be in the system anymore. Maybe at any time, like it doesn't, like, so much of reality is beyond our control. People think about the notion of faith. They're like, you need to have faith. I'm like, buddy, it's the other way around. Okay. Everything has been functioning in accordance to faith. It is consciousness that has come and systemized its faith, and it has filterized reality. So anybody who's like, yo man, I know what life means because I have this perspective on life, and I'll be like, okay, systemic. The whole point of it is truth is unconditional. So everything in this world we find and we're relating with and has a value and shape and form is conditional. We're conditional beings. We're here to do something conditional. But what is moving the conditional seems to be an unconditional field of awareness. For the mind, I've termed this as the divine cognitive fields. I gave a lecture on it. Go check it out. I think it was a cool lecture, actually. Um, and Yeah, be fascinated by the unknown rather than just being like, sometimes I wonder, like, yo, man, is the smile of the past more important? Is the smile of the future more important? Is the smile of the present more important? And then I realized, yo, man, like I'm the type of, when I was a kid, I'm the type of kid where I'd be like, yo, man, there has to be like that genius that could, in some sense, find the win win win. And this is what I'm trying to tell you, whoever you are listening, for 2026, I hope that this year you find your win win win. Win cubed, yo. Win cubed. Imagine, I co-write a book with Charlie Sheen called The Mathematical Equations of Winning. Someone in the chat section says, I'm glad the light shined down upon your existence and ability to speak of those realms we return to. Okay, okay. I mean, like, I appreciate the compliment, but I don't know the unseen. The whole thing is, I'm telling you that I don't know the unseen. None of us do. The system admin does, because we're conditional. But I do know that manifestation has source code. I do know that right now, like, yes, externally, I'm a biological organism, like, moving my mouth, communicating, you know, expressing my physical function. But psychologically, I'm also being like, yo, guys, I'm Amin, using the online name, Mr. Like, online alias Mr. Within, and, you know, giving this talk. But if you really want to know where all of these are coming, they're coming from my awareness, realizing, in this, very strange to say, I shouldn't say it this way, but in a more higher, or what it feels like a higher plane, it's already been done. That means the more you have faith in an unconditional, instantaneous, original moment of being, I don't know how to explain it, but your mind is your mind, because the body is the node where your attention is starting from, but this node is in a field. And if you really want to know, this might be a little too much for the viewers, but it's a new year, all said. If you really want to know who's giving this talk and who you are listening, first answer is, I don't know, God knows, the system admin knows. Second answer is my probability, like, so far, like how far I see. It is not a person. It is the whole field functioning at once in one dimension. We access it as a node, as an individualized manifest antenna in chunks. So what appears to you as some person giving talks is, in another dimension, the whole presence of a field in accordance to the divine commands of the system admin. So today in 2025, you're listening to a body that is identifying, you're listening to an object identifying as a subject, right? And this body receives these subjects and, considers them as thoughts. But in the future, as the first thought, it has like thoughts. It's like the first thought you have is the idea of you, and then every other thought is associated to that idea of you. But I'm telling you, when you realize you're not an idea, you realize you're not a noun. You're not just a conditional noun. There's an unconditional verb like aspect to you. Then the great questions arise for the advanced communicators in the world. How do I communicate as a field of intelligence? Could it be that it doesn't have to be intelligence? Does intelligent potential does not only need to be attributed to formed intelligence and matter? That we are in the presence of the unknown. The unknown is beyond our eyes. In the same way, there's an unobservable universe, there's an unobservable self. That unobservable self is the realization that what we think is the mind on earth is actually the presence of all reality. Like, you don't understand. You get access to your thoughts in sequences. Your conscious brain notices it sequentially. But where they arise and where this voice is truly coming from is a field. And that field is existing in all ways, all the time. But it is not for us to understand. And the only way I can talk about it is because I'm trying to map reality in the presence of God, honestly. That means the holy book for me was a map. Everything has been helping me find reality because I am not satisfied with how in an unknown world, an unknown self, notice it can know itself and became a known self, and created a subjective self for itself, you know. And so we became this known self in a known world, looping in that known world because the brain doesn't know what to do if it doesn't act that way. And so now we're wondering what as a species we can do. And some people just look at 8 billion humans and they're like, I don't know, man, let's just be nice to each other. And I'm like, that's not it. We look behind their eyes, wonder about what each human being, each unknown life force manifests in a certain DNA that will never exist in this exact way. The beings exist, we're 8 billion viewpoints that have never existed before and will never exist in this way before. And we see things that nobody else can. Well, and people are like, yo, should we unite? Of course. What's the point then of being different? The only argument of not needing to unite if we were alone. We are not alone. It is now time for the species to become responsible for itself. Just like a human being, takes care of their body, takes care of their reality. In the same way, we need to have the whole species identity of the whole species take care of the identity of every individual. So, in other words, it would be a master level historical negotiation of all populations with all power positions. And the negotiation will be that, in some sense, let us be simple. When I was young, one of the first things I learned in science was like, yo, animal kingdom, mineral kingdom, plant kingdom. Guess what? There wasn't the word human kingdom. That was in history. But that's what it is. We are right now, we don't see it, but we are existing in the kingdom of humanity. Now let me tell you, this is the difference of civilization 2.0. Civilization 2.0 is like a monarchy, but the crowns are worn by the future generations. There is no living king and queen ever. So people cannot kill the king and queen. They can't, fight it. The king and queen cannot judge them. The king and queen is the greatness of the human odyssey. It's the human legacy. I don't know. Am I the only one who feels something when I hear the words human legacy? Like, what is the point of all of us being here? Like, yeah, one person, they did, against all odds, they made it, but now it's at the time for us to begin seeing the success stories of the species. Because in an advanced civilization, media would only show you every day how many things are advancing. You cannot control a being that advances beyond the concept and its context. My advice to any being in this world: go towards God, go towards the system admin. The system admin is not a condition, a form, a shape, an entity. It is an original, unconditional, unfathomable by our human position being. Therefore, go towards the original presence of this world. That's what God means. Okay? Then, so in your inner realms, go towards the original, the most advanced power, the original power. In front of your eyes, once you've realized that advanced power is within all aspects of reality, it's the system administrator's will. Then, in your inner realms, you are developing a psychological relationship with a higher power that is beyond any condition in the world. In front of your eyes, you're building the most advanced civilization because all creation is the creation of this higher power. So I don't know if somebody was like Mr. Within. I guess you're one of those guys in history who can figure out, I don't know, how to advance everybody, you know. And I would say the way I would figure it out is by asking myself, If I don't know what the most advanced is, how can I advance everyone? But I know that everybody knows who they are is not their most advanced self. Because if the advanced is unconditional, then the most advanced conditional position is the conditional position that has the most advanced awareness to the unconditional. Therefore, the prophets are the most advanced beings. They're the God, the system had a direct relationship. We have an indirect relationship through the work of the prophets with the system admin. However, the work of the prophets suggests different things. For example, in Islam, the message is to go directly to the system admin. You're not praying to a person, you're not praying to uh, a shape or a form, you're praying to the unconditional original truth and honoring the might of the original power of your world, the advanced powers of your world. These are not based on the mods. The mods may give people the illusion of advanced power, but they are created beings. And because you don't see them, you think that their function is your power. It is not the case. You're just subscribing to them. You know, the point, the where I'm going with this is that you need to ask yourself, if truth is beyond shapes, what's the point of shape? And theologically, it's like shape is in the presence of the unshaped to shape itself in a certain, like to be shaped in a certain way so that it can reach an unshaped state. To me, it's all about original state. Right now, I'm in a simulated state, and then I return to that original state. Now, if you're secular, you make that original state the void. If you're religious, you make that original state the God. But whatever it is, the simulated returns to the original state. To me, if somebody says, "What kind of God do you believe in?" I say, "I believe in a God that is beyond anything that humans have given meaning to." Literally the ontological life of everything. Because if intelligence is based on commands, it's an intention. We're not just seeing the world, we're seeing the world that was intended by an unconditional being. And it's fascinating. That's why in Islam we say all praise, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, all praise due to the Lord of the worlds, plural. Everything in existence is simulated in the presence of the original that cannot be, that has no beginning or end. So the original state of reality is unconditional. We're being conditional. To us as conditional shaped beings, our interaction with the unconditional is appearing more to be the realization of an unconditional field. So it means you th- you're receiving the like imagine there's a field of intelligence, and this is where all souls are, right? And you are receiving that manifest, you're manifest in accordance to the commands extending from that field of intelligence. But again, this is not, you should not believe this metaphysics, because the system admin knows. Do you know what that means? That means somebody could come and say, "Yo man, the world is like this," and tomorrow the system admin can will it differently. Do you know? This is why the system admin true only can know what is going on here. But we humans are in a very unique position, and the clues sum up to the recognition that we are in a simulated earth, in a simulated world. We're simulated beings. But to establish that relationship with the original makes us realize there was an original command, and that is our soul. Pretty much consciousness is wanting to find its original reason of being. But its original reason of being is beyond its understanding because it has a value to everything beyond its understanding. Thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, and the most advanced.